Good afternoon. It's my honor and privilege to welcome two special people to this BW Disrupt, BW Dialogue on entrepreneurship. Dare I say social entrepreneurship. I keep saying every business has to be a social impact business. There shouldn't be any distinction between a social impact business and a business. So today we have two special guests who are multifaceted, who have multiple careers. Let me welcome Kunal Kapoor, who's the co-founder of Ketto. He's a well-known actor, trained with Barry John, worked with Nasiruddin Shah, and I can go on. So welcome, Kunal. Thank you for talking to Businessworld.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
You can call me AV or Anurag or Dr. Batra, whatever. But let me tell you, I am the Dr. Batra who makes people hair go away. There's another one who fixes them and we share the fees. But on a serious note, let me bring in Lieutenant General S.M. Mehta, who's a very decorated forces leader, but now he's the CEO of Hans Foundation, and Hans Foundation has been doing fantastic work wherever is needed, been doing great work in COVID to help people who are needy. So welcome Lieutenant General S.M. Mehta to this BW Dialogue.
Thank you so much.
So first of all, let me start with Kunal. Kunal, how have been the last 150 odd days for you? What has kept you personally and professionally busy?
Well, I think it's been a time of mixed emotions, honestly. There's obviously the good, which is that you've had a chance to spend time with the family, which you don't get otherwise. I've had a chance to catch up on everything that I wanted to read, the books I wanted to read, watch the content I wanted to watch, learn how to play the guitar, doing a course on artificial intelligence. Obviously, lots of work at Ketto. We've all shifted to working from home. It's been very hectic the last 5 months for Ketto because a lot of people have started campaigns. Lots of people want to support campaigns, fundraisers. So that's been happening, which is all very good. But I think the flip side of it is, of course, there's a sense of anxiety and uncertainty, which is at the back of all our heads. When will this end? How will this end? What will the world look like when this is over and done with? So I think it's a mix of two things. One is, of course, the good, and of course, the anxiety that goes with it as well.
Lieutenant General Mehta, I would ask you the same thing. How have been the last 120 days, personally and professionally for you?
Okay, since you asked it in two forms, personally, I'll touch upon personally first. Like Kunal said, first, the anxiety and uncertainty, that hit you very hard. And the first thing which came to the mind, like my two daughters, they stay abroad. One is in US and one is in UK. And they were going through a very bad time. That time, UK and US, COVID had hit very hard. So there was an anxiety about the children. There was anxiety about your near and dear ones. And gradually, I even offered my daughter in UK to, catch a plane and come next day before the lockdown happens. But you know how children are. So they didn't listen to me. They are independent women, strong women. And they said that, sorry, Papa, that may be your parental thing, but we are not going to come to India and we are going to face it what it is here. So they are continuing. That was one very big anxiety as a parent. And the second one was that we were going through an audit and my team was regularly going to the office up to 22nd. And some of them used to commute by public transport, and safety of my team was primemost. And we did go to the authorities and told them to stop the audit. Finally, they did. But there was a big anxiety. And one of our team members, she was diagnosed with COVID positive. She was pregnant, but luckily nothing happened and she has had a normal delivery. So that was another worry. The third thing was the house. I'm a military man, and you know that we have help all through our career. And the society I live in, there was total lockdown, in the sense they declared our area red zone because there were few COVID cases in our society. There was no domestic help available. I had never entered the kitchen. I learned a few tricks from my wife, and you can call me a glorified ayah. I had to do what I didn't do all my life. You had to clean the house, dust the house, and you had to, be part of the house. And that was a great learning. I never realized that house is so difficult. So to manage the house is so difficult and it is so tough. But by and by you learned, and 3 months, it was totally no help at all. Our gates were closed. It was a red zone. Professionally, we hit totally a roadblock. We have something like 150 projects, 150 partners all over the country. Everything came to a grinding halt. Our construction projects, they came to a grinding halt. And then those moving images on the TV, migrant workers walking home, and then you had a responsibility being a foundation. We quickly stepped in. We rebooted, reorganized, and we went on our job first to tackle and help the people in this very difficult and crisis situation. So this is what we did. And then gradually, since we are totally online, our work is totally online. So we were working from home, and it was difficult to manage the team, though it's not a very big team, but then you have to keep them busy, keep the morale high. So these were difficult times, but gradually it settled down, and I realized that the time I was wasting in travel, about 3 hours every day, meeting people in the office and spending a lot of time, that got added. Of course, I was spending most of the time, some time for my being a domestic help also, but it increased the efficiency by and by. And I find that I could do more work from home than what I was doing in the office. So these were the takeoffs of these 120 days, still continuing. Like he said, one is anxious, when is it going to end? We're still working from home. Everyone wants to come to the office, but there is no way out.
And tell us, you've been an army man.
Yes.
So you're the decorated officer. You've seen wars, right? Now, so you're not new to crisis. What was different about this crisis from any other crisis that you may have seen in your life?
See, it was, first of all, I was very surprised when we saw those images of thousands of workers, on the border trying to reach their states, and the kind of, organization which was required on ground was not there. And right across, I was watching, this Ghaziabad and Uttar Pradesh, and the army was sitting next door, and they could have come in and they could have organized this much better. Anyway, but that's part of the decision of the administration. But in this case, what we found was that there was a total lockdown. We were asked to set up an isolation camp in Udham Singh Nagar in Uttarakhand, where there were 10,000 migrant laborers, and they were lying on the floor. There were mosquitoes. It was very warm, very hot over there. Children, women, men, and the government approached us and they said, we want to set up this thing. Can you provide us 5,000 cots and 5,000, mattresses, pillows, bed covers, mosquito nets, and pedestal fans? How do we get them? Everything is under a lockdown. So it was those organizational skills of the army. We were able to approach Panipat, we got the bed sheets, we got the mattresses. It is one of the biggest isolation camps. Within 7 days, we were able to manage. And thanks to my team, which worked day in and day out, I was only pushing them, I was only inspiring them. But we were able to achieve this. We were able to reach out to almost about 10 lakh people. What we did was, like in the remote villages of Uttarakhand or Rajasthan or elsewhere, we have our partners all over the country. We tied up with the local baniya, that परचून की जो शॉप होती है, उससे हमने टाई अप किया, उसका बैंक अकाउंट लिया, and we put the money in his bank, and we made sure that everybody in the village, because PDS system had broken down initially, it picked up later on in this public distribution system. The rations were not reaching. People didn't have money to buy rations from the ration shops. So we gave money. In Uttarakhand alone, we reached out to 150,000 people and provided rations. The police approached us, the government approached us. There were migrant workers who were stuck in Dehradun. We provided about, you can say about 2,000 plus 3,000, 5,000 people we provided rations. First lot was that when the government approached us. And then the Manipuris, they were stuck in NCR and Delhi. There was a commissioner who approached us, and that was organized very well. They didn't have money, they didn't have food. So like that, we had to, innovate ways how to, make good of this opportunity and how to find ways and means to reach out to people. And a lot of things like we provided ventilators to 4 states because the frontline warriors like the doctors, PP kits, all that, had to be organized, and that had to be done in real time. So that's where the skills of the army came handy. And of course, I always say it is the team which matters, and my team is very efficient, one of the best in the world.
Thank you, General Mehta, for sharing what the Hans Foundation and you did for looking after the migrant laborers. And, crises like us, these remind us that, there is so much inequality, and we need to do much more for a certain bottom of the pyramid that exists in India. Coming back to you, Kunal, tell us, how did you get associated with Ketto? Tell us the story. I know your co-founder, Varun also, I'm aware, but for the viewers and our readers, tell us, how did you become a co-founder of Ketto? How has been the journey? Take us through the journey.
Well, so we started about 8 years back, and I was working with a number of NGOs in the social space, and I found that there were a lot of challenges that the NGOs were facing. First and foremost was the challenge of course, raising money. Once you had reached out to your donors, it was very difficult to reach out to them over and over again. Secondly was the transparency and the ease that somebody who wanted to donate didn't have. We felt like the social space needed to be something that was far more transparent, and we needed to make it much easier for people to donate when they wanted to donate. And thirdly was how do you get NGOs to reach out to new donors? You've reached out to your donors, you've asked them for money, they've given you the money, but then how do you now reach out to new people and tell them the work that you're doing? So these were the challenges that I found that these NGOs were facing. And at the same time, I happened to meet Varun Sheth, who had worked in the social space as well. And we both had similar ideas. We both felt like there were similar challenges that we needed to get together to overcome. And the idea was to build a bridge using technology, because technology was something that we spend so much time on our phones, our computers. We wanted to use technology to build a bridge between people that can help and people that need helping. Because very often I came across people around me as well who wanted to help, but they didn't know how to go about it. So we wanted to make it so simple that you could get onto your smartphone and in 2 minutes, you could help anybody anywhere in the country for any cause of your choosing. So the idea was to use technology to build this bridge. But what we assumed, which a lot of people told us at that point was wrong, was that people in India are generous. When we started off, lots of people said, no, Indians don't give. They're not generous. But my thinking, Varun's thinking was different. We believed that they were generous, but they just didn't have the avenue to give. So we felt like if we could reach out to younger people, people that wanted to make a difference but didn't know how to make a difference, it could become something.
And people who are passionate about certain causes. See,
correct.
If you want to make a difference, you want to make an impact, possibly you care about a lot of things, but some things you care more. So you want to make a difference in that specific zone. So,
absolutely.
that alignment is important.
I come across a lot of friends, people around me that used to tell me that, look, I want to make a difference. There's a flood that's happened in Assam. I want to make a difference, but I don't know how. Who do I give to? How do I go about giving? Can I trust this NGO or not? Can I trust this individual or not? So I felt like, that was a challenge that needed to be overcome if we were going to really get people involved, in the social space. And the other thing that I found was that the whole social space in our country was viewed as something that was only for a particular sort of people. You had to be, had to have a certain gravity to you. You had to be, serious to get involved in the social space. Whereas when I looked out west at the ecosystem, it was very different. There were lots of actors, sports people involved. People were having garage sales, baking cakes. So the issue was serious that we were dealing with, but the way they went about raising funds for the issue was completely different. It was a lot of fun. And I felt like that was a ecosystem that we needed to get into India if we were going to have an impact. So we started off 8 years back, and it was very difficult to start off with. It was just me and Varun in his father's office, actually. And a lot of investors that we went to meet were like I said, they were all like, this is not going to work. I don't know why you're doing this. You're spending too much time on this. Indians are not generous. Secondly, I don't know who will go online and donate. Crowdfunding is not popular in India. But 8 years later, we've now raised over $120 million for various individual campaigns for various NGOs. And it takes me back to our starting premise, which is
that's
people.
800 odd crores. That's 800 odd crores.
Yeah.
So that's almost 100 crore run rate every year. Initially, it may be lower, but just to average that out, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of impact.
Yeah, and I mean, every day we see people who are complete strangers coming together to help people that they don't know, just from the goodness of their heart. So, we live in a world where we always bombarded with bad stories. It starts making you believe that the world is a really bad place. But fortunately at Ketto, every day we're bombarded with good stories. Not good in terms of the people that we are helping, but good in terms of the fact that there's just random strangers, people that want to come together. I mean, just now with the COVID campaign that we've been running, a friend of mine's daughter is 9 years old, and she's been watching the news. And she said, Dad, I don't want to just stand by and watch. I want to help the migrants. So she started a campaign and she's raised 10 lakh rupees. So somebody who's as young as 9 years old is like, look, I don't want to sit around and watch. I want to make a difference. And that for me is incredibly powerful. It shows you, how young people in this country really want to make a difference. And our aim at Ketto is really to constantly provide them with the avenue and make it as easy and transparent as possible, for them to be engaged.
Fantastic. And tell us, Kunal, why did you call it Ketto?
Well, Ketto is an abbreviation for Key to Tomorrow, because our belief was crowdfunding is the key to tomorrow, because it's really actually the democratization of capital. Whether you're looking for money for a creative.
And here I say democratization of philanthropy also. Because it provides an opportunity for everyone to do good karma, so to say.
Right, absolutely. That's such an important point. So yeah, democratization of philanthropy and capital. I mean, earlier if I wanted capital, I would not be able to reach out to anybody. Only a certain set of people could reach out to a certain set of people. Now, if I have a project which I want funded, I can reach out to the whole country or the whole world actually. Now, I mean, 35-40% of our donations come from donors outside India. So I can actually reach out to the whole world for a project that I have. So really it's the democratization of capital. And like you said, a really valid point is democratization of philanthropy, because earlier only a few people could give. Now, if I have 100 rupees, I can, get onto the internet, get onto Ketto and make a difference.
Kunal, I want to ask you, you wore multiple hats. You've been active for almost 2 decades.
Right.
And you've done a lot of things. Of course, primarily you're a performer, you're an actor. Now you're an entrepreneur, you're a father, you're a husband. You've done lots of roles. And
father, I'm not yet.
Huh?
Father, I'm not as yet.
Okay.
I'll get there.
Okay. Maybe I didn't do my research well. And it is with all jokes, no reference to any past or secret information that I have. But I'm sure you'd be father soon. So whatever has to happen, happens there. I said, you were a multifaceted personality. That's the point I'm trying to make. And life is not about either or, that, oh, you do this and you don't do this. Tell us, what do you enjoy about being an entrepreneur? And what do you enjoy about being a performer?
I was just talking to somebody the other day and I was telling them that actually being an entrepreneur and being an actor, even though they seem like they are poles apart, are actually very similar.
And so what are the similarities?
So both acting and being an entrepreneur require creativity. I mean, as an actor, of course, you have to be creative. But as an entrepreneur, to disrupt something that has existed for years, you have to be creative. Otherwise, you can't disrupt something. So something that's existed for 4, 5, 6 decades and you come and disrupt that. You can't do that unless you're creative. Secondly is both as an actor and an entrepreneur, you have to listen to the audience. I might make a film which I think is great, but the audience might watch it on Friday and say, we don't like this at all. What were you thinking? Even as an entrepreneur, you have to constantly take feedback from the audience. You might think you have a great product, but the audience might not get engaged with it. So you have to take feedback and make those changes. Thirdly, I think what is really important for both is self-belief. I think as an actor,
Beautiful.
To be in a studio in front of 100 people and put yourself out there emotionally. It's a very sort of lonely job as an actor because you're preparing alone, you're acting alone. The only feedback you're getting is from your director. So you need a lot of self-belief to put yourself out there. Similarly, as an entrepreneur, I mean, when we started off, like I said, everybody said this is not going to work. The only thing that kept us going was the belief in our idea. We believed that this is going to work. And so self-belief, I think, is a really, really important thing for both of them. And so I think creativity, listening to the audience, and self-belief, I think those are things that are common between being an actor and an entrepreneur.
Okay, beautifully put. Both are creative. You have to be creative in the way you approach it. Second, you have to look at your audience. As a performer, clearly, the audience has to accept it. As an entrepreneur, your stakeholders, your audience matters. Who is this product for? Why will they use this product? And third, which is the most beautiful thing you said, is self-belief. I think to achieve anything, that's the starting point. And you got to have that all through. So beautifully articulated, Kunal. And coming back to you, General Mehta, if we had to rate Indian foundations versus global foundations, I mean, across the world, the concept of having a foundation, of being philanthropic, of being a social impact venture has existed for many years. Formerly in India, it has existed 3 decades. Tell us, what can Indian foundations learn from global foundations? And what do you think global foundations can learn from the quality of work that Indian foundations do?
I think first let me correct one perspective. Though we are an Indian foundation, but it's run by a NRI, and we are funded by an NRI. There is a single donor for us, and we have a branch in US also. So we have the experience of both the worlds. We interact with a lot of international NGOs like America India Foundation, AmeriCare, and some odd 400 NGOs we have funded in India. So there is a lot to learn, and there has to be a cross-pollination between the outer world and India, or the Europe, America, India. Here, like Kunal said, that people want to donate, but they don't know whom to donate, whether the guy is honest or not honest. So whether this NGO is really delivering or not delivering, that kind of
clean bona fide, clean intent.
Yeah, clean and
that's important.
So that's what, whereas, in the world which is established, which has been doing philanthropy for a very long time, these kind of things are not, very prevalent over there. I'm not counting out that things don't happen there, but on a very, very minuscule scale. For example, when our promoters, they started working in India, I'm giving a very small anecdote. The legal guy, he was drafting the MOUs, which were to be signed between the NGOs and us. So he had put certain clauses in that. And the comment was Do you think the Indian NGOs are thieves? Why are you putting all those clauses? Please take them away. And good enough. Initially, 5 years, we faced a lot of problems, and those clauses were not there. And then we had to reintroduce that. That's one essential difference. We have a lot of NGOs, lakhs, so I believe there are 2.5 million NGOs in the country. Some, are just on paper. Most of them, I believe, there are a large number of them on paper. And those practices are not there. Whereas there are very good NGOs in India also. I can tell you about my foundation. You can rate it one of the finest organizations in the country. And our motto is equitable society. We like to, means if it is not sounding very pompous, I would say that we aim to transform lives, be it a child who is born with hearing impairment, needing a cochlear implant, be it a child having congenital disease, and from very poor background, we have been supporting. These are very big programs we are running in the country, be it the national program, which we are doing with the governments for setting up homes for the people who are suffering from mental health issues and staying in the mental institutions. And this program is nationwide. We had done a study along with the government, central government. And there are a couple of other programs which we are running for corneal blindness, integrated village development program, and it is changing lives. And there are people in India also who are doing very genuine work. So, and like Ketto, he's given the example that there are people who can donate 100 rupees and they are making a difference. People are there who can donate, who really care for people. And there are other type of people also. So this is the essential difference which I find. And there is a lot to learn from each other. We can teach them our values. There are people with very great values in India. After all, we have been I would say, the fountainhead of culture and values, and we can teach them that. We know that how we take care of our elder people, and which is not existing in the it is not so in the outer world. We take care of our near and dear ones when they grow old. Those are the things we can talk about. And the COVID, there are thousands and thousands of examples where individuals came forward and looked after these people, who were walking back to their homes, and they came out, they cooked food, they gave them water, and without any, they spending money on their own. So that's the culture, that's the strong culture India holds. We can teach that to the world.
Thank you so much. Kunal, I want to ask you a question. We take, for everything, if you want to be an athlete, you have to train. You want to be a sports person, you want to be a pilot, you have to fly. And like when you entered acting, you entered the performance arts, you went to a academy. You went to, if I'm not wrong, I hope I'm not, to the Barry John Academy, right? Right. And then you worked with Nasiruddin Shah. So you trained, you took training. However, for entrepreneurship, you haven't taken any training. So tell us, there are lots of questions and comments we'll take in the end. But tell us what have you learned? I mean, some things are ingrained. They're part of the personality, self-belief, the fact that you got into an uncharted territory as an actor and made it, there's a certain confidence. It's the quality of intent, the purity of the intent, all that. I believe in the universe coming together to make things happen. I'm a strong believer in that. So I know all that is true, but tell me, you did not prepare to be an entrepreneur. You didn't go to Harvard or in IIM Ahmedabad and said, oh, let me do a course on being an entrepreneur. So why not? Why did you train for being an entrepreneur? The point I'm trying to make is, do we need to be training for being an entrepreneur? Do we need to be studying? Or there is a certain set of skills you need which replace getting trained?
Well, I mean, if you believe somebody like Elon Musk, then education actually comes in the way of being an entrepreneur.
Right.
He's like, you should go to college and school, for fun, for experiences, but not.
He tweeted something for fun. He was penalized. He tweeted.
Oh, was he?
Yes, and he was smoking weed in a board meeting. I mean, that's Elon Musk.
Right. So I mean, it's not. That's a very difficult question because a lot of the entrepreneurs that you see around in our country are people that are not necessarily trained in business. They had a great idea, like we've been talking about intent, self-belief, confidence. They went with it and then people joined them and believed in the idea. So I don't know if it's essential to be trained to be an entrepreneur. What really helped me is I came from a business family. My dad was into construction. So I worked with him for a couple of years. I also worked in the stock market for a year. So it's not like I was I didn't have any sort of experience when it came to business. I had worked with him for 2.5 years. I, understood how a business works. I was actually always interested in setting up a business as well, even when I was an actor. The only thing that I really wanted to do was to set up a business for good. I think that was something that was very strongly sort of ingrained in my head. I don't know where it came from. I grew up in a house with a very large family. Besides my immediate family, we had like 14 uncle aunts, 35 cousins. We always lived like a community. And the idea of community was ingrained very early. The idea of giving within the community was something I think that came to me very early in life, not consciously, but just growing up in that atmosphere. So I think I wanted to definitely do something related to starting a business. But like I said, it was very important that that business was in the sphere of social impact. And I think with Ketto, both of them happened together.
Kunal, I want to ask you, we glorify success.
Right.
And I keep saying, General Mehta and Kunal, that India is a country that only celebrates success. It doesn't celebrate failure. And that's why we haven't produced a single product company from India. In spite of us being so sincere, honest, having all the intellect that we have, we are not able to produce what the US does in terms of the kind of ideas, products, the scale. And General Mehta, if I had to only comment on one thing that the Indian foundations can learn from global foundations is the scale of impact, is the scale of operations, which in your foundation, it is still very big, but a lot of foundations will do very boutique work if they could scale up. I think the canvas or the impact they have is very large. And I know your impact is very large too. So Kunal, I want to ask you, people know about your successes. Have you had any failures in life? And what have you learned from them?
Lots of them. As an actor, I'm still struggling actually. There have been lots of ups and downs. There was a time when my first couple of films came and I was called the next big thing. A couple of years later, I was written off. Then I did a couple more movies and they said, the king of comeback. So there's always new titles that are thrust upon you. I think what's really important is for me, and that's been personally for me, a lot of people ask me, have the failures frustrated you, or have you ever felt dejected because of the failures? And I haven't, honestly. I don't remember feeling frustrated at any point of time. And I think that's because of two things. One is, I think at the core of my being is two things: curiosity and growth. I'm always curious about new things, and I'm always looking to grow. I think if you're curious and you're looking to grow, there's no room for frustration.
I totally agree with you. Curiosity is the mother of creating new ideas, of learning, of evolving.
And there's so much curious about it. And I think we are very fortunate that we live in a time, like I'm saying, I'm learning how to play the guitar. Earlier, I would have to go to a school or college or have somebody come over. Now I'm learning how to play the guitar off YouTube. I'm learning how to play. I'm playing my favorite songs. So we live in a time where anything that you want to learn is a remote control away. And there's no reason to curb your curiosity or, not dig in and dive into your curiosity as much as you can.
Thank you so much. General Mehta,
Yes.
Talking about the Hans Foundation, and you already told us, tell us, you've taken up so many projects over the last few years. Which is the one project that's been the closest to your heart, and why?
I'll come to your question later. Let me just narrate one very interesting part of the THF, if you permit me to do that.
Sure. Happy.
There is an amazing story which you would like to know. there was a girl, 28 years old, who had very big dreams. And her name is Shweta Rawat. She thought of setting up the Hans Foundation at the age of 28 and with very big dreams. And today, I'm proud to say that our footprint is all over the country. We have, like we were talking about giving, we have a donor. His name is Manoj Bhargav. If you have heard of his name, he is a billionaire in US. So far we have given grants worth 1,700 crores in last 10 years.
Wow.
And he has, I'm talking about Mr. Manoj Bhargav and this family of Shweta Rawat, they're together into it. They have pledged 90% of their wealth for charity. And that's the kind of scale we are talking about. And now coming to your question, you were saying which is the project which is very close to my heart.
I did say you are working on a scale because I'm aware of all this. But generally, I find maybe except the global one like a Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and so on, Indian foundations sometimes don't think big. That's my personal view. But it was not a commentary on the Hans Foundation.
No, I take it very well, and I appreciate that. Let me tell you, there are not one project. I'll talk about two or three. The latest is the acid attack survivors, which we have announced of late. We were doing a series called Love You Zindagi, in which we were advocating about mental health. We just done a study at the national level where we have identified all those people who are languishing in the mental health institutions in the country. We have 43 of them. This is a legacy of the British. They are in a very, very bad condition. And the conditions inside the mental health institutions need to be improved. I don't want to comment on that. Somebody takes an offense on that. But these are the people who are stuck over there forever in a time wrap. So there's no way they can come out. So we launched a study at the national level where ministries also participated, first time in the history of the country, where the central ministry participated in a study ordered by the Hans Foundation, where there were people of the joint secretary level. And we have identified people who can be repatriated, who can be rehabilitated, reunified with their families. They have recovered, but they have no place to go. And we have already started our work in 4 states. We have signed MOUs with the state governments. And we are now going to launch Canada. There is an international NGO, Grand Challenges Canada. They are coming on board. They are giving some grant. We are matching that grant. And we are going to take up this entire project on the national level. This is one which is very close to our heart because there's nobody to listen to those people. I'll tell you a small, if there is time permitting, I had gone to Pavlov Hospital in Calcutta. There were 20 people sitting on the floor and they were all absolutely all right. For years, they've been staying over there, but there is nobody to listen to them. They are not even permitted to go out because their families are not taking them back. So these are the people who need to be taken out. They can contribute, they can be given livelihood, they can contribute to the economy, to the GDP, they can live a better life. So this is a mission which the Hans Foundation has taken up. And we hope the ministry is involved. They released our report. The report is with the Supreme Court also. So this is one project which is very close to our heart. It's a big project. It's a lifetime responsibility. Once they're out, they're set up in homes like you and me are staying, 5 people together. They're given support as per the severity of their ailment, and they have to be looked after for life. It's a very big responsibility and challenge the Hans Foundation has taken. Second, I told you that we have also now taken up a cause of the acid attack survivors. And another one is the corneal blindness. This is something which can give eyesight to people, but we don't have high-performing iBanks in the country and awareness. When I went to inaugurate the first iBank in Lucknow, that is KGMU. We are doing this project again with the government hospitals. We are building, operating, and transferring. All over the country, we are setting up very high-performing iBanks, about 50 of them, so that we can eradicate corneal blindness from the country. The US does 45,000 operations every year. There is no waiting list. When I went to inaugurate the first this iBank we built, in UP alone, there are 190,000 people waiting in the waiting list. And the capacity in a year is 600 operations. 600. You can imagine it will take 300 years to reach 190,000 operations. So we took it as a mission to build high operating. The second one has been built in Rishikesh, AIMS. The third one in Assam government eye hospital. The fourth one is coming up in Banaras. Like that, we have chosen now we are going to Jharkhand and other states. So we will have this chain of eye hospitals built all over the country.
Okay.
So and the third one, the biggest livelihood project in Nagaland, because nobody is going to the northeast. We have now entered Manipur. It is the biggest livelihood project any NGO or any foundation has run ever in the country. We are setting up tea gardens. We are setting up a bamboo factory. We are setting up and we are adopting the most backward Mon and Kifre districts of Nagaland, and we are starting their integrated village development program, which is a huge thing, which we are doing already in Uttarakhand.
Fantastic. Kudos to you. I'm glad we are having a
work. Yeah.
Kunal, I want to ask you two questions, and then there are lots of audience comments, 8 questions in the Q&A. So I'll take some of those because the nature of this conversation is to be participative. Kunal, you achieved everything. I mean, your name, fame, wealth, and you're very relatively young. So is there anything left for Kunal Kapoor to achieve? What are Kunal Kapoor's dreams? Do you have a bucket list? If one, what is it? Kunal Kapoor's.
But it's just, thank you so much, but I think I'm very far away from, I'm happy where I am, but I think there's a lot more to achieve, lots more. What is on our bucket list? I mean, as a company, Ketto, I would love to see it grow a lot more, of course. You know, when we started it, it was a crowdfunding platform, but our dream for it was to become a medical company, a medical health company. And we're building a lot more verticals now. So crowdfunding is going to be one of the verticals, but there are other verticals that we're building that will make us, like I'm saying, a company that is not only a crowdfunding company, but a medical health company. So that is, of course, with Ketto. As an actor, there's so much I want to do. I mean, I feel like I've just started. I feel like after so many years of acting, I'm finally getting a sense and understanding of what acting is all about. And so there's a lot of parts that I would like to play, lots of things that I love storytelling. So I want to storytell as an actor, as a producer, as a writer, as a director. So that is something I would, those are things I want to do professionally. But on a personal level, I'm also a pilot. So I'm a hobby pilot. I would love to actually fly around the world, flying my own plane.
Oh, hopefully soon.
That's something that I would love to do. I've been very intrigued by technology, so I'm always looking for new technology things that I can learn. Like I said, right now I'm doing a course in AI, but I would love to learn coding. I think that's the language which all of us use without knowing that we're using the language. Right. And that's one of the most essential languages that I don't know. So coding is something I would love to do. I'm very fascinated by space. So I would love to learn a lot more about space. I start my day with meditation, actually. So I spend the first 1.5 hour meditating. I would love to do Vipassana. So there's so much. I mean, I mean, if I start, there's a really long list of things I'd like to do.
And have children too?
Yes, of course. I'd love to have children as well. I think that's something that would make us very happy. Yeah,
Kunal,
I love traveling, but I don't like to travel to see things. I like to travel to learn things. So, for instance, me and my wife were in Japan a year back, and I did a course in samurai. I went and learned with the samurai. So I find travel very interesting when I'm in a place learning something which is about that place. I feel like I understand that place in a much like deeper level then. So I'd love to travel, learn new things across the world. Yeah, so much.
And I watched this Asian Paints video of you and your wife doing a walk through your home, right? So I want to ask you a larger question. What is the role of a life partner? I mean, I know that your life partner matters both ways. For a man, the woman matters, and for the women, the man matters. Tell us, what is the role your wife plays in your choices, decisions?
Well, I don't think it would be an exaggeration if I said that my life and who I was completely different before I got married and after I got married, and for the better. My life is better now. I think it's very important to find a life partner where your values are common, but somebody that encourages you to pursue your interests, even if they are not her interests.
Sure. Respect your individuality and your choices.
Right. So I think it's very important to have shared values, but it's also important to find a partner that helps you bring out the best of who you are, even if that might not be her interest area. And I think that's what my wife has done for me. I mean, there's a lot we share because we have common values. But she's always pushed me, always encouraged me to find the best version of myself and to pursue my interests. So she's usually people are like, come on, keep working, do this, do that. Let's do 5 films. That a lot of life partners are like that, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But we are people that enjoy working, but also pursuing other interests. And I encourage her to do that. I bring out the best in her, I think, by encouraging her to do the things that interest her, and she does that for me. So I think it's a great you're in a great space when you can grow together and grow individually. And I think I'm fortunate enough to have a life partner where both those things are possible.
Thank you so much. I agree fully with you. Me and my wife are poles apart. In our children, we see a bit of both of us, and that's beautiful. Luckily, we're blessed to have a boy and a girl, so we have the best of both worlds. General Mehta, you have children. You've grown up children. I'm a hairless, toothless in front of you in terms of children. You have to grow. What have you learned from your children? I can understand. I'm sure being an army person, you're very disciplined. You run an organization. You're very organized. But what have you learned from your 2 daughters?
I think I'm still learning from them, not learned. I teach my daughter every day 2 hours mathematics. And I'm rediscovering her. In a sense, I find her very brilliant. And the kind of ideas she has means I could not discover it during my service. And, sometimes there is a joke going around that when an army person comes back from the field posting after 1.5 years or 2 years of gap, the children have grown up. And when you land up at the door, they say, Mummy, uncle aaya hai. So they don't recognize their own father. That is the kind of miss we have with our children. We miss those times when we are serving in the field. So I am discovering a new child in her, whom I'm teaching. Of course, my elder daughter, she is also of a very philanthropic nature. She is a great thinker. And the technology is one part which I'm learning from my daughter while I teach her mathematics. She'll say, Papa, why don't you go to the Zoom icon and click it there? Why don't you do this?
I never use a calculator in my life. So either on the phone or so I understand.
But sir, COVID has been a blessing. I have learned so much of technology during this time. Plus, these children, they know what they want. At my their age, when I was of their age, I did not know what I wanted. We were always looking up to our parents. But these children are very super confident. They know what they want, and they can advise you on many things. If you think you put in 40 years of service in the army, you're mistaken. They are far more intelligent. Like I always quote whenever I go for, inspirational lectures, that the generation, present generation, always dwarfs the achievements of the previous generation.
That's true, sir.
And that's the sense of life. You have to learn a lot from the current generation. We are the people, we are from the past. Of course, we have wisdom and experience, but they're more intelligent. You can look at Kunal. He's learning guitar at the age of 44. Kunal, I would love to learn that. That's my life ambition.
He's much younger.
Pardon?
He's much younger than that.
No, that's what I'm saying. He's a young guy. He can do so many things. I have been trying to learn guitar. That's my lifetime passion. One day we'll join in and I'll take some lessons from him.
And if you need somebody to sing, call me. I sing. If you invite 500 people to your home or to the party and 1,000 show up and you only want 500, I'll show up and sing.
That will be wonderful. I would love to have you there.
But now let's take audience questions. There are lots of questions directed to both of you. Let's respect our audience. Chetna Sabrawal is asking Kunal Kapoor a question for Kunal. How do you decisively plan the nuances of Ketto as a tech platform? So are you involved in the tech side? You said it is something that interests you, technology. So
I mean, we obviously have a CTO, Zahir, who's also one of the co-founders. So he takes care of most of the technology. I think we all have very specific roles. Varun is the CEO. He takes care of the whole business.
Comes on the cover of magazines. Varun and Kunal.
Zahir
you know how I met Varun? You know the story, Kunal?
No, I don't.
I'll tell you after we've taken all the questions.
No, so Zahir is the CTO. I obviously take care of business development and new partnerships. So we all have very specific roles. Tech is not something, I love tech. I'm passionate about it, but I'm not so knowledgeable about it. Zahir is far more informed and he's obviously far more brilliant than I am when it comes to technology. So he's the one that takes care of all the tech.
Okay, Riaz Kachara, if I've got your pronunciation right. Question for Kunal. What is the difficulty you faced while you started Ketto?
I think two. I mean, first and foremost, there was nobody that knew about crowdfunding at that point of time. So it was not only about educating the audience, it was also about educating the seller, who in this case is the NGO and the individual. So we had to educate both of them. Secondly, it was very difficult for us to raise money because, like I said, everyone we went to said this is not going to work. This whole crowdfunding business is not for India. But there's a really nice story there, which I think is very inspiring for new entrepreneurs. When we went to this one individual, he said, look, this is not going to work. I don't think you guys should do it. And we were about to leave and he said, what's important is that it's not important whether I believe in this idea or not. What's important is that you believe in this. Because if you believe in it and it works, then 10 years down the line, I'll look back and I'll say that I wish I had believed in the idea then. And sure enough, 8 years down the line, he invested in the company. After telling us that this is not going to work and, you guys should not be doing this. He invested in the company 8 years later. So it was very challenging because nobody believed in us and nobody believed in the idea. But I think, like I said, going back to, where we started.
Persistent. Be in the play, be at it. Things, magic happens.
Keep on moving, yes.
With so many startups failing to make a mark and being rejected by the masses, how come entrepreneurs decide beforehand and deal with such failures? Is it like movie failing at the box office or something different? When you don't succeed in entrepreneurship, how do you compare it to a movie not working the way you expected box office? That's the kind of a...
Well, they're both very difficult to deal with, of course. Somebody had asked me, I used to go skydiving and really what a failure of a movie or as an entrepreneur feels like is skydiving without a parachute. That's how the sinking feeling that you get inside. But, like we've been saying is you have to keep on moving and you have to keep going and you have to be persistent. I think that's the only way to deal with it. If you get stuck in your failures, then you're never going to be able to move. And there was this very nice article I had read, is that people want to move by huge leaps, but even if you move by an inch,
The progress matters, even if it's small.
yeah, you're still 1 inch further than you were. So move in the inches when you have to, but keep moving.
Fantastic. Pratibha Rawat is asking this question to Lieutenant General Mehta. Does Hans Foundation provide internship or training to the students who are willing to work for rural development and then acquire in-depth field knowledge?
Yes, we do offer internship. We have internship with the Hans Foundation. We have certain businesses which we are handling. Not business, it is social entrepreneur business. Like the government has given us certain responsibilities, like the handloom unit of Uttarakhand. Then we also offer fellowship programs if people are interested, where we put you along with the NGOs we are working with, and we pay you very well for that. We pay for the internship also. And for 1 year, it's a 1-year course of fellowship program, and internship is about 3 months program. So you're most welcome to join Hans Foundation if you have passion to work for the rural area.
Good. There is Zia from Chennai. She's saying, I volunteer in rare diseases and disorders segment. This segment does not get my attention. Does your foundation focus on this segment? Question to you, General Mehta.
Yes and no. When I say yes, sometimes the government approaches us for rare diseases. There were 2 cases in one of the states. The chief secretary approached us. We did fund that. There are things like, transplants, the liver transplant or the kidney transplant, which we do it, but as on required basis, because we do big projects. We take proposals and we fund NGOs. We are basically a funding agency, like the cochlear program, which is one of the biggest in India, which we are running. Though it is not a rare disease, but it is a debilitating disease. Like a child can remain deaf and dumb for all his life. It's a life-transforming surgery, that is the cochlear implant. So we are running those kind of things, but rare diseases, only when we come to know about it, we do help. There is another sister organization, which is called Hans Cultural Center. They take individual cases like the scholarships, giving money for individual treatments and things like those. We have 3-4 sister organizations by the name Hans. We have our own hospitals where these diseases are treated. It's a multi-specialty hospital. So one can approach them. I don't know whether they have this infrastructure but AIMS and Safdarjung, we do fund them at times. We are funding a lot of hospitals like Apollo, Columbia Asia, Max, for some of the diseases we are treating in these hospitals. But as a program, we are not running.
Okay, thank you, General Mehta. Question for Kunal from Niharika Nandyal. What type of projects would you fundraise through Ketto fall under? Will it need to be only for non-profit or businesses also that drive social development? So what she's asking is, for example, something that uplifts the artisans community with our villages women entrepreneurs. So Niharika Nandyal possibly is a women entrepreneur who's working on a community for artisans and says, if she wanted to raise money through Ketto, she could. I think that's what she's asking.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've had all kinds of projects in Ketto. We work with NGOs, we work with individuals, we work in zones where disasters happen. We also work with businesses that are making a social impact. We also have creative projects. So all sorts of projects are actually funded on Ketto.
Okay.
May I ask one question?
Yes, go ahead.
Kunal, like I have an obligation.
Yeah.
I have to raise 10% of what I get from US. Like I said, we have only one funder. He's pledged 90% of his wealth for this purpose. But there is a mandatory requirement, that is US equivalency determination test, under which we have to raise 10% of the amount which we get from abroad. And we are finding it very difficult. Would you do it for us?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll connect you to the team and we'd love to work with you guys.
That would be wonderful. Otherwise, the tap closes. If we go below 10%, we cannot get any money from US. The tap closes. So I'm constantly struggling for last 5 to 6 years to remain just above. Right now, I'm at 15%. And if they take 5 years average, and the year you have raised much more money than the next year, if that year goes out of 5 years, then we drop down. So I'm really struggling on this front, because we focus more on our proposals and projects and looking after, people.
No, I'll definitely take your number and we'll connect with you along with the team and see what is possible. We'd love to work with you guys.
Yeah.
At this point, let me ask my last question. I've not taken certain comments and queries. I used somebody who asked multiple questions, so I've only taken one which I thought was relevant. But there are lots of goodwill coming from various people about Kunal, about Hans Foundation. Kunal, my last question. There are a lot of people who are dealing with stress, anxiety, despair. What is your message for hope for them? When you're a tall man, people look up to you anyway. But a lot of people look up to you. So what's your
it's a very complex question, because it depends on where you're sitting. If you're sitting in a place where I am, which is fortunately a place where you're far more comfortable, I would tell people to be kind to themselves. I think we live in a world where we're already going through a lot of anxiety and uncertainty. And I find a lot of people want to be overachievers during the lockdown. They want to learn lots of things, consume lots of things, read lots of things. And there's this constant pressure that you put on yourself.
Yeah, it's called FOMO.
Yeah, to be
missing out.
Lockdown super achiever. And I find that that actually creates far more anxiety. So I think it's very
still
important.
in a competitive mode.
Yeah.
Still like.
I think during this lockdown, it's very important to be kind to yourself. The other thing that's really helped me is to put a structure in place. When the lockdown started, I was just going through the day with whatever was coming my way. No, that's a poem now. But once I put the structure in place and I said that this is what I'm going to do at this time, I felt like the anxiety became a lot lesser, because we are living in a time of uncertainty. When you put a structure in place, I think there's a lot more things that become certain. So yeah, I think if you're sitting in a place like where I am, which is where we all are, where we're comfortable, I would say be kind to yourself. But there are a lot of people that are not as fortunate as we are and are struggling during the lockdown. That's a far more complex question, I think.
Yeah, be kind to them too. So, but thank you. You have to be first kind to yourself to be able to make a difference to others. So I totally buy that. And I also buy your point of view of structure. Like I've kept 1 hour for reading, 1 hour for watching certain business videos that I need to watch. 1 hour, my daughter is growing up. She's writing a book. Her YouTube channel gets launched in 20 days. So helping her, and most of my time in working, and I keep saying this, it's my favorite thing that I keep saying, when it rains, look for the rainbows. When it's dark, look for the stars. So there's something positive, and I'm very mindful of the difficulties people have on the lives front and the livelihood front. But we got to do what we got to do and stay hopeful. General Mehta, your message of hope for people on this broadcast.
I would say that there is always an opportunity in every travesty or every crisis. You have to look for the opportunity and go for it. I would say that these are times for innovation, innovate, reorganize yourself, embrace the new normal, and move on with life. We are down right now, but we'll be coming back with, I would say, much force and with much vigor, because humanity has taught us this all the years, be it World War II, be it Hiroshima, Nagasaki, be it anything, be it Germany, we have come back. That is the strength of humanity. And don't go into despair because you've lost your job. Don't go into despair because temporarily it has given your business a setback. Stand firm. Think that how you can innovate and how you can leap into the future. India is going to rise, and that's my message. And we are going to be the world leader one day. And that's my message.
Can I tell you how I met Varun? So this is about 9 years back, 8, it should be exactly 8 years back. I'm in Bombay. I live in Delhi, but I spent 15 days in Bombay, 12 to 15 days in Bombay, because we have events, we have 4 offices there. And I keep telling my marriage works because I travel a lot. This is because my wife is in the travel business, before you made any other judgments. Okay? I want to tell you that. But I was going to meet Mr. Vineet Jain. He was going to be our Impact Person of the Year that year. Impact is our weekly on advertising, which is the #1. And I was waiting in the lobby of the office to go up. And Varun comes up to me and says, "Are you Anurag Batra?" I'm not Kunal Kapoor, okay? Not as famous as you. You're an actor. He says, "I read your column in the magazine and what you write on entrepreneurship." I didn't own Businessworld. I acquired Businessworld 6.5 years back. That time I owned Impact Pitch, and I used to write for Dare magazine, Entrepreneur magazine, on whose cover Varun was, right? My friend Saurav was the editor.
Right.
So he comes up to me and says, "Yeah, I am Anurag. I love your column. I read this." And I write my columns which are totally experiential and from my own anecdotes. So they're storytelling. They're not about, and they're very personal, you know. So it was not theoretical. So I, of course, felt good. Then I asked him what he did. I went, and then he said, "I'm at Taj Land, and why don't you come tomorrow? Let's have a cup of tea." And that's how I met him, and that's how he became my friend. And I've since tracked the journey of Ketto. And second thing I want to tell you about myself, what I've done. For the first 1 week, I was very anxious because, you know, I'm raising capital. So suddenly there's environment, first generation. But I gathered myself, and I can tell you I've been more focused in these last 4.5 months than I ever have been, and achieved a lot without putting pressure. I am one of those people who's a perfectionist, you know. You're a number 9, I'm a number 9. But the fact is, I've also been nice to myself. I slept enough. I've been able to give some time to my kids, to my wife, been able to give a lot of time to my parents, and I've been very disciplined. So I always wanted to do TAV show. I started a daily show on NewsX on business and economy. I've been doing it for 2 months plus now. So it has brought a certain structure. I know what I'll do in the day if I have to meet people. Few people I still meet with all the social distancing norms, with masks, sanitization. But I do it after 7 to 9 is when I do it. And from 10 to 7, I work like I dress up every day, come to my study, and you know, I tell my dad that, "Oh, I'm going to work." You know, I go to another room. So I'm just saying that you can do what you need to do. Health comes first. You have to keep the norms, but as Kunal and General Mehta said, this shall too pass. So we wish you luck, Kunal, in your endeavors. Good to know your bucket list, and thank you for being authentic and talking to BW Businessworld. Thank you, General Mehta. Good to know about the good work Hans Foundation does. And we at BW Businessworld, if there's anything we can do to help your initiatives, we're an email away, we're a text away. Thank you so much. This interview will go in the BW Businessworld magazine on our site, which is 30 million traffic average every month. And the video will be repurposed to be put on various platforms. So it will go to even a larger audience that was not live today. So thank you once again. And we look forward to having a conversation soon again with you.
Thank you so much.
Lovely speaking to you, General Mehta, as well. I will connect with you soon.
Thank you, Kunal. And sorry for that gaffa. Please for this.
Yeah,
to err is human, to forgive divine. So,
and I learn guitar from you.
Yes.
That's my lifetime ambition.
Thank you, Kunal. Thank you for being
All right, thank you so much.
And I hope you can buy me a coffee at JW Marriott soon.
Yes, hopefully very soon.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you, General Mehta.
Thank you, Mr.
Bye. Cheers.
Thank you a lot. all your team in the BW.